Hello, YNABers. My name is Jesse Meekum, and this is podcast number 27 for You Need a Budget, where we teach you 4 rules to help you stop living paycheck to paycheck, get out of debt, and save more money. Today, I want to talk about what, for me, would perhaps be the ideal budget. You have to kind of ask yourself, what is ideal? What really matters with budgeting? Why do we do it in the first place? The reason I do it is because when I'm aware, and budgeting increases awareness, when I'm planning is budgeting. When I'm doing those things, my money is lined up with my values. That's where I find financial contentment. Not in the amount of money earned, but in what the money does once it's in my pocket. And when those values are aligned, you're content. So an ideal budget for me would be that it does not hinder that contentment, that it promotes it, that I feel ever more content with my situation. So an ideal budget for me would be something where I didn't have to manage it very often. I didn't have to check a lot of things, and it was fairly high level. The higher the level, the better, but not if you're having a hard time managing things. So you have kind of a seesaw approach. You know, on one hand, you say, well, I'm doing really, really poorly, and I need to track everything. And I would say, absolutely, track everything. You are doing poorly, and doing that tracking will right the ship. On the other hand, if you're doing very well, if you've ingrained habits over years and years of budgeting, being aware, doing that planning, being on the same page with your spouse, my hope would be that you could start to kind of back off of the tedium to the extent possible. So that's the direction I'm headed. I want to be able to do less budgeting and get the exact same result. So an ideal budget for me would mean that I have very few accounts. I have few accounts because every time I add another account, things get a little more complex. That's one more account I have to balance. It's one more decision I have to make when I'm recording a transaction on my phone. Oh, what account did I just use? Oh, yeah, it was this one. So I can avoid that decision. It's one more bank that knows anything about me, although that's less of a concern. It's one more piece of mail I get from said bank. Just a lot of nice things about having just one account. So that would be the first thing I would do, is I would whittle it down to just one. Now, we use a credit card in our household. The reason is not for the reward points at all. The reason is because I don't want to have my debit card stolen and then have the person have access to all of the cash that represents a lot of different rainy day funds that we're saving for. And it's a substantial checking account balance because of that. We don't siphon things off into other savings accounts. We put it just all into one big place. So we're fairly vulnerable in that regard. So I use a credit card for almost every single thing I can spend money on. And that protects us. I don't buy into the fact, that some people say debit cards protect you just as well. They may, but your money's gone for a while you get everything sorted out. And I'm not a fan of that. So we use one account and then a credit card account to protect us from that exposure. On top of that, an ideal budget would have few categories instead of a lot of categories. And you'd be able to get higher level instead of super granular. So there would be no toothpaste category. There would be no toiletries category. There would be no hygiene category. You would just say, well, this is groceries and other or something. I don't know. There would be one category for all your different insurance, maybe. There would be one category for all your different savings goals, to the extent that you could still manage that appropriately. The nice thing would be if you just had one category for all of your spending, such as groceries or toiletries or hygiene stuff, makeup, haircuts, miscellaneous, books, anything where you're buying things not online. I think it would be really ideal if I could just carry around cash in my pocket and purchase those things when I needed it. And I would record one outflow for all of those items. I would record the cash outflow at the beginning of the month. Let's say, all in all, I've got $1,000 that is made up of all these various categories that used to be spread across multiples, but now they're all just in one big monthly miscellaneous spending that included all sorts of stuff, right? Again, groceries, hygiene, miscellaneous, just books, whatever. I don't know. And I record that one outflow. So I budget $1,000 and then I record an outflow for $1,000. I go to the ATM or to the bank and I get $1,000 out and then I stick it in my pocket. And then when I need to buy, I'd probably split it up with Julie. So we'd divide that up. And then when we needed it, we would just use that money and call it good. That would be ideal for me because I wouldn't have to decide, what category does this go in? No, I just grab cash and buy it. I would want to make sure that my budget was still following my values or the budget would no longer be ideal. So I would make sure that I was still setting aside for retirement, and that would be a separate category. I would make sure if I could do it through my employer, that would be even better because then I wouldn't need the category. It would just be off the gross and I record the net. One less thing to do. The ideal budget would have me still giving because that's important to me. It would have me still saving for vacation for the kids or have me still saving for a car. I guess what I'm trying to say is the ideal budget for me would require as little work as possible to have the maximum output. And maximum output, again, would be that your money is doing the things you value. If you start to lose grip on that, if you start to lose insights, then you have to kind of ratchet it back down. Zoom in to those categories and start to separate them and say, we need to separate these out so we can track a little better. But only if things were going awry. It would be cool in that regard to just keep things very, very simple and keep them very, very honest and have that cash on hand, have the card used for things that you buy online or bills you pay that are automatically taken out. Imagine all of your monthly bills being just one category. All those automatic bills where they just, you knew what they were. You knew that on average, even if they were a little bit in flux, you could say, the gas bill is this on average, or you could set up with your gas company to do a monthly regular amount. And if you could do that and just kind of lump all your bills together and then just have them go out as needed, you could know what to budget for that category because it'd be the same inputs still. You just have them all summed up and say, all of my monthly bills that go out are $750 and budget that and then have those bills go out and you're fine. Or you'd say, in the winter, it's more like $850. And so you'd, make sure you plan for that. That'd be fine. But the idea of having very few categories is very appealing to me. Fewer decisions just seems nice. So my ideal budget would look like a cash category. I would have a gas for the car category, or maybe just a car category in general where I'd lump in my license cost that'll come once a year, car repairs, gas. I don't know if that would be ideal. It would be something that you could mess with, though. You could say, I want to track this a little closer, and you couldn't do that. Or you might say, things are so flush, I don't need to worry about it. It's not the case for us, but I think striving for that, where you're always simplifying to the extent you can while not losing the value that the budget gives you. And again, the value is that your money is doing things you value. It's worth looking at, maybe quarterly, maybe annually, just kind of saying, how can I simplify my processes to make my life a little easier? Do not have 15 accounts. Do not have 60 categories. Keep things simple. It adds to your longevity, budget longevity, and probably your real longevity as well. That's basically it. Until next time, follow YNAB's 4 rules and you will win financially. You have not budgeted like this.